Has it changed? Has it got better? And why does Game of Muscle sim racing weird socks? In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Assetto Corsa EVO 0.8 update, and I'm going to let you know what you should expect and where things are going with this simulator. Remember to subscribe so you can unsubscribe when you see our socks. Click the like button, and thank you to all the channel members, supporters, donors and people that allow us to do what we do. It's very appreciated. Oh my god, look at those socks. Injinji toe socks, guys. Affiliate link in the description. These socks are killer for sim racing, and we've been tormenting our viewers with them. Right, socks out of the way. The update, the biggest thing in the update is, of course, VR improvements and performance improvements for VR. What's allowed for that is variable rate shading that also allows for foveated rendering, either fixed or using eye tracking. Now, there's a lot of confusion on this because a lot of people are mistaking this with quad view foveated rendering, where the game renders multiple views at different resolutions, which can get you sometimes up to 200% performance improvement. Variable rate shading typically only gets you 30% or so performance increase, sometimes less than that. It will depend on the graphics card you're running, the resolution, whole bunch of stuff. But the variable rate shading is a really good thing to have. It's generally much more subtle. It's also something that could be used in conjunction with quad view foveated rendering, I believe. But yeah, they're two different things, so you need to keep that in mind. Sadly, EVO doesn't have quad view foveated rendering. That would be a massive, massive, massive performance boost, not just a pretty decent performance boost. Maybe in the future they can implement quad view foveated rendering. I think that's probably needed to get this game to run really well in VR, but for now, variable rate shading is all you've got. Does have a good improvement though, could have quite a big impact on people with lower graphics cards as well, so it's a good thing to have. I will say though, with their variable rate shading implementation, their aggressive setting maybe could be even more aggressive than what it is. Their settings are actually reasonably mild on the grand scheme of things. They could be much more aggressive or offer more ranges. But basically, this is the first implementation of it in this sim, and it's a good thing to have. Will allow people to get much better performance. That said though, with the limited testing we had so far using the Quest 3, this game is still heavier than your average American elephant in a zoo. So yeah, you're going to really need a beast PC to get this to run whilst also looking really sharp. You also need to be really skeptical when you see people commenting going, I got it to run on full settings and it's running at 90 Hz perfectly on maximum settings. You really need to be careful when you hear people say that, because you don't necessarily know what resolution they're running their headset at and what actual quality they're happy with from their headset. So to know how well this actually truly runs on the different graphics cards with the different headsets, you need to know the resolution that they're running the headset, plus the actual resolution the game's running at, plus their game settings and foveated render settings, plus the in-game settings. So it's very hard to get really good benchmark for this. It's too early for me to really tell you if it's running, like what the optimum settings are or anything. All I can tell you is that as someone that's done a lot of VR experimentation with AMS2, AC1, other simulators with the Quest 3, even a Microsoft Flight Sim, this game is very, very hard to run whilst making it look really sharp. This actually runs worse than Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR. So prepare your 4090s, your 5090s, or if you're really lucky, your Voodoo 2s, and you might be able to get it to run somewhat okay. But yes, you need a IBM mainframe to get this to work really nicely, whilst also looking really crisp. If you're happy with blurry graphics, now you might be able to run it on a general system. But being optimistic, there is VR support there. You can click through stuff. You can play the game in VR, so at least it shows intention for VR to be a thing in this game. And with them implementing variable rate shading and some other stuff, you know, they're not just sticking it on. I think they're actually thinking about it. So that's really nice, really positive, but definitely super mega early days still for VR in this title. Now, the other thing in this update, you can see here we're driving around Kyalami. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's a South African racetrack. Looks a bit like a pod racer track with some of the buildings having Star Wars type roofs on them. It's a really good racetrack. It's in a few simulators now. Absolutely gorgeous in this. Maybe at the moment on this video it doesn't look too good because of how VR is, but if you can crank up the graphics in Evo, the quality of the environments is mind-blowing. And you really notice coming over the hill and looking into the distance on this track, all the surrounding environment and all the buildings, all the details. It's such a gorgeously modelled racetrack in Evo. Kunos, this goes back to AC1 at the time, but then ACC. But Evo's tracks just look incredible. Most importantly, though, at least 90% of the graphics detail has gone into Noodleman. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4 already. It's incredible. The Noodleman quantity in this game blows me away every time they do an update and I play a track. Absolutely love it. But the track, gorgeous. Probably one of the best looking versions of this circuit in any simulator at this point in time. But again, performance wise, this game is a heavy one. It's an absolute cow of a simulator to run. You've got Automobilista 2, which we've been playing recently and complaining about the handling and the throttle behaviour, but AMS2 runs really, really good and in many ways looks just as good as Evo. I'd say not quite as good, but it runs like 5 times faster, so, and still has incredibly detailed tracks. So, you know, on a looks to performance scale, AMS2's like 10 times better than Evo. And even AC1 with their mod tracks, I wouldn't say they're as detailed, but you've got some ACC tracks ported into AC1. They look bloody amazing with Pure and Shader Patch, and again they run sometimes run better than AMS2. So, you know, yeah, like the performance is still not there really, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe Kunos will optimize even further. Now, in terms of cars, we now have a KTM Expo GT4 and KTM Expo GT2, as well as a Volkswagen Golf 8R. I didn't really like how the KTM handled. Felt super bland, a bit delayed. I didn't really enjoy it. It sounded okay. Cockpit's nice. The graphics are nice, but handling-wise, just felt a bit weird to me. It actually felt worse than some of the other cars that are in the game, like the Porsche Cup and even this MX-5 seemed to feel better than that. And the Volkswagen Golf just feels really sloppy. I mean, it's a road car. Obviously, it's going to be a bit sloppy, but even with that in mind, I would much rather drive that type of vehicle in AC1. Other than that, though, most of the stuff in this update is some multiplayer fixes, some subtle gameplay fixes. Supposedly, they've done some performance improvements as well for 2D. So it'll be interesting to see what frame rates people are getting on cards not as powerful as a Voodoo 2. If you can, in the comments, type the frame rate with the graphics card and CPU you've got, that'd be really handy. And also let people know if you're finding it's running a lot better for you compared to previous versions, and type your specifications when you do that. That's really handy for just to give an overview for what people should expect to get in this game with their system. But yeah, it's not the most exciting of updates, let's be honest. Unless, well, maybe it is if you liked AC Evo and you couldn't get it to run in VR, or you're on the cusp. Now maybe some of the changes and tweaks do allow you to run it a bit better. But yeah, really, it's still the same thing. As you see, the AI there are actually psychopaths, but it's nice of them to have somehow trained the AI on iRacer's driving habits. So people often ask me, is it worth getting now on this update compared to the last one? I would say not really, unless you're like really passionate into the early access thing, in which case you probably would have already bought it. it's really not, you know, it's not got good gameplay there. Yeah, it's not solid. It needs a lot of updates. 0.8 sounds like it's only 20% away from being done, but I think it's actually still probably 40% away from being done. You know, it's very much an early access title still. So you're much better off if you want something to play now that's different. AMS2, racing against AI, trying all their different content can be really fun. Physics are a bit weird, but there's a lot of fun to be had with that. AC1, if you don't have it, you need to get AC1. It's extraordinary. LMU for GT3 driving and hypercars, online racing. That's really great, really good fun and quite polished now. Race Room you can try for free. You know, there's many other titles that you can get that are a lot better or more polished than Evo and not doing the early access thing. I would actually pick up Wreckfest 2 if you want an early access game. That's not finished, but it's really, really fun, and the AI is really fun to race against, and it's just fun to crash people. The multiplayer is really fun. It's a much more solid game than Evo, just to play through, but no VR. So yeah, I would still hold off getting this, but you can do the multiplayer racing in Evo, and you can experience the updates. So it's not that it's terrible universally, but for most people I'd hold off. So lastly, where are my hopes and dreams with this title following on from this update? I would say, so part of me is cautiously optimistic with the physics. Like, there's times when I drive this and there's some aspects of physics I really quite like. Specifically, most of the handling when you're braking and the lift off oversteer and how the car sort of noses into the corner. And there's also a nice little bit of play when you're sort of under the limit. There's a nice little bit of small movement that you can control in a subtle way without inducing large amounts of slip. I find in AC1, though I love how it handles and feels, you really have to push onto the tyres quite aggressively to get the cars nimble and neutral steery. This has a little bit more movement without you having to drive so aggressive. I really like that. Though, having said that, Evo also has this sort of weird, slightly delayed feeling to it, which I don't fully understand what's causing that. And also the on-throttle behaviour with Evo is a bit weird. So it's not cohesive or solid or rounded in the same way that AC1, Live for Speed, AMS1, RBR is. It very much feels like there's still quite big fundamental physics holes in Evo. And then the force feedback in Evo is still massively lacking. Kind of feels a bit sluggish, overly dampened. So, but you know, there's bits there where if those good bits were across the board, then this would be absolutely fantastic. And if none of the cars had that sluggish weirdness to them, and it didn't have the damping in the force feedback to the degree it does, I think this could be really, really fun to play, especially for racing online. But we'll have to wait and see. So I'm just saying, I've let myself have a tiny bit of optimism, which I know is really dangerous, but I'm risking it for a biscuit. The biscuit will probably fall off in my cup of tea. It normally does. But with that optimism, I'm massively concerned about the performance of the engine. Not everyone has a Voodoo 2. And I've heard that even people with 5090s are struggling to get a sharp image on the Quest 3 with it still running at 90 Hertz. And that's something that you need to be able to do quite easily for most people with lower cards like 4090s, 4080s, 5060s, so even they can enjoy the wonder and joy that is VR driving. And let me tell you, VR driving is bloody amazing. So I'm really worried about the performance of the game. And even then, for 2D, people with lower end systems wanting to race online, and then how will this perform on console? You know, that's a really big problem. So hopefully they can solve that. But that's my biggest concern with this game, is the performance of it. And then, yeah, though I'm optimistic with some aspects of the handling, I'm still super skeptical. If it's taken this long for them to get to where they are, and it's really off, you know, let's hope the biscuit doesn't fall off in the tea. But yeah, it's a nice update. It's one that came a bit out of the blue, and it's always nice to see improvements to things. Let's hope it can keep improving, and let's hope the next update is even bigger and more exciting. Of course, everyone, I think, and their dog is waiting for the open world stuff and what that entails. That will be very interesting. On that note, before we finish and go away, have you seen the open world stuff that's coming out for AC? Like a lot of the mods. Obviously, you've had the free roam tracks that are incredible quality for years now in AC1 that run amazing, have traffic, now have pedestrians. I think you can run over pedestrians. Someone's now made virtual herding cows which moo and move around. This is the big problem for Kunos, I think, is that AC1, as soon as they do whatever they do in this, modders are going to do something that runs better, probably looks better, and is more advanced in AC1. So this will just be always following behind in some way. But maybe this can come out in console, and that'll give console players an approximation of the world of Assetto. Who knows? Do you guys think it will ever surpass AC in totality, or is the AC cat got out of the bag and the power of modding has taken over? It'd be interesting to know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, there you go, nice update. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I covered what you were looking for. Till the next one though, get some nice toe socks. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. Thanks for watching, take care, and goodbye.